It's August. There are exactly 120 days left in 2026. And if you're feeling something right now, a tightness in your chest, a quiet panic you can't quite name, you're not being dramatic. You're not failing. You're experiencing something that psychology understands very well. The weight of time you can feel slipping through your fingers. Most people enter August with a quiet sense of dread. The year that started with resolutions and hope is now 2/3 gone. And if you're honest with yourself, you're not where you thought you'd be. But here's what nobody tells you. August is not the warning. August is the opportunity. And there's a psychological reason these next 4 months matter more than the first 8 combined. If you've ever felt like the year disappeared while you were just trying to survive, subscribe. This channel exists for people who feel deeply and think too much. Let's understand this together. There's a specific feeling that arrives in August. It's not quite panic, it's not quite regret. It's somewhere between them. A low hum of anxiety that whispers, you're running out of time. Psychologists have a name for this: chronophobia, the fear of time passing. And August is when it peaks. You see, January comes with permission to begin. But August comes with something much heavier: the awareness that you didn't. And that awareness triggers a cascade. First comes the comparison. You look at where you are and where you thought you'd be. The gap between them, psychologists call this self-discrepancy, creates a specific kind of pain. It's not the pain of failure. It's the pain of watching yourself not become the person you imagined. Then comes the acceleration. This is the cruelest part. When you feel like you're running out of time, time itself starts moving faster. This isn't a metaphor. Your brain's time perception mechanisms actually change when you're anxious about time. The more you worry about losing time, the faster it seems to disappear. It's a neurological trap, and almost everyone falls into it. Before we talk about what to do with the next 4 months, we need to understand why the first 8 vanished. Because the answer isn't you were lazy. The answer is in your brain's time perception architecture. There are 2 mechanisms that control how you experience time, and both of them start working against you the older you get. The first is proportional theory. When you were 5 years old, 1 year was 20% of your entire life. Every day was significant because every day was new. A summer lasted forever because your brain had almost nothing to compare it to. But at 25, 1 year is 4% of your life. At 30, it's even less. Your brain registers time proportionally, and the proportion keeps shrinking. That's not a character flaw. That's math. The second is novelty density. This is the one that actually explains your year. Your brain encodes memories based on novelty. New experiences create distinct memory anchors. Discrete moments your brain can point to and say, that happened, then that happened, then that. When you look back at a period rich with novelty, it feels long and full because your brain has many anchors to reference. But when every day looks the same room, same routine, same screen, same exhaustion, your brain stops creating distinct anchors. Days collapse into each other. Weeks dissolve. Months disappear. This is why the pandemic years felt like they didn't happen. Not because you were lazy, not because you wasted time, because your brain had almost no novel inputs to encode. You were in a sensory loop, and your time perception system did exactly what it evolved to do. It compressed the redundant data. You didn't fail the year. The year was structured to feel like it failed you. But understanding why time disappeared doesn't automatically fix the feeling that you wasted it. That feeling, the regret, has its own psychology. There's something called temporal discounting. It's the brain's tendency to value immediate rewards over future ones. It's why you chose scrolling over studying in March. Not because you were weak, because your brain's reward system is wired to prefer now over later. Then there's the planning fallacy, a concept we've talked about before. Coined by Daniel Kahneman, it describes our systematic tendency to underestimate how long things will take. You set January goals assuming you'd have the same energy, the same focus, the same circumstances all year. You didn't account for the bad weeks, the exhaustion, the things you couldn't predict. And then there's what happens after the first goal fails. Ego depletion applies to hope. The more resolutions you break, the less you believe in the next one. It's not just that you didn't do the thing, it's that each failure eroded your belief that you could do the thing. By March, you weren't just behind on your goals, you had stopped trusting yourself to achieve them. You didn't waste 8 months. You ran into the same psychological barriers everyone runs into. You just didn't know they had names. Now here's where the psychology shifts in your favor. In 2014, Researchers Milkman, and Riis published a study that identified something called the fresh start effect. They found that people are significantly more likely to pursue goals after dates that feel like new beginnings. New Year's Day, the start of a new week; a birthday, the beginning of a semester. These are called temporal landmarks, and they work because they create psychological separation from past failures. Your brain categorizes the old you, the one who failed, as belonging to a different time period. The new you gets a clean slate. But here's what most people miss. August is one of the most powerful temporal landmarks of the year, even more powerful than January in some ways. January comes with exhaustion from the holidays. It comes with winter darkness and low energy. It comes with the weight of an entire year ahead, which paradoxically makes it harder to start. When you have 12 months, you can afford to wait until February, and then March, and then August doesn't give you that luxury. August comes with urgency, and urgency is a focus mechanism. The Yerkes-Dodson law in psychology tells us that performance improves with arousal up to a point. Too little pressure and you drift. Too much and you freeze. 4 months is the sweet spot. Enough time for real change, not enough time to procrastinate. And from a memory encoding perspective, the next 4 months are naturally richer. September brings structural change, the back-to-school feeling that's embedded in your neural architecture from years of conditioning. October through December bring holidays, gatherings, seasonal shifts. These are novelty anchors that your brain will actually encode. You're not just trying to salvage the year, you're entering the most psychologically fertile period of the year for change. So how do you actually use these 4 months? Not the Instagram version, not the hustle culture version, the psychology. 1. Abandon the year-long goal. Goals set in January were designed for a version of you that had infinite energy and perfect circumstances. That version doesn't exist, never did. Instead, ask yourself a different question. What would make December 31st feel different from today? Not perfect, not complete, just different. One thing, maybe 2. That's it. The research on goal setting is clear. Specificity beats ambition. Get in shape will fail. Go to the gym twice a week from now until December has a chance. The difference isn't motivation, it's clarity. 2. Use anticipation as fuel. There's a concept in psychology called anticipation utility. The joy you get from looking forward to something is neurologically real. It activates the same reward pathways as actually experiencing the thing. Fill the next 4 months with things to anticipate, not just goals to achieve, a trip, a project, a skill you're building toward. When the present is empty, the future feels threatening. When the future contains things you want, the present becomes bearable. 3. Use the December test. When you're deciding what to focus on for the rest of the year, imagine it's December 31st. You're sitting in this same room. What would make you look back at these 4 months and say, that mattered? Not, that was perfect. Not, I achieved everything. Just, that mattered. The December test works because it bypasses perfectionism. It doesn't ask you to become someone else. It asks you to become someone who did something that mattered to them. Let me tell you what's really happening when you feel like you're running out of time. You're not afraid of December 31st. You're afraid of arriving there as the same person you are now. You're afraid of another year where you were a passenger in your own life, watching it happen rather than shaping it. That fear is not your enemy. It's evidence that you want more. The problem isn't that you want too much. It's that the gap between what you want and what you've done has become too painful to look at. So you look away, you scroll, you distract. You tell yourself you'll figure it out tomorrow. But here's what the psychology actually shows. Regret isn't about what you did and failed. It's about what you never attempted. The famous study of end-of-life regrets found something consistent across cultures and demographics. People don't regret their failures. They regret the risks they didn't take, the words they didn't say, the version of themselves they didn't have the courage to become. 4 months is not nothing. It's a third of a year. It's long enough to form new habits, long enough to learn a skill, long enough to become someone slightly different from who you are right now. You don't need to fix everything. You need to fix one thing, and you need to start before the calendar flips to September and the weight gets heavier. Carl Jung wrote, I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. He didn't say, I am what I achieved by January. He didn't say, I am the sum of my completed resolutions. He said, choose, present tense, ongoing. You still have 120 mornings, 120 chances to do one thing that matters, 120 opportunities to arrive at December 31st and say, not I fixed everything, but I didn't look away. The year isn't over, it's waiting. If this resonated, subscribe. We explore psychology not as a textbook, but as something you're living right now, in the quiet moments, in the questions you don't say out loud. See you in the next one.